Hello everybody and welcome to That's Football. One of the biggest, most prestigious awards of the footballing calendar has been released. Player of the Year, voted for by the players for the Premier League Player of the Year. And it is Ruben Dias. And has Harry Kane been robbed? Has Bruno been robbed? And the reality is, you're probably true. But I've got to say, Ruben Dias did deserve it because over the year, he won it and he's voted for. What I would say and we'll look at the team of the year in a moment, but Player of the Year is Ruben Dias. As a defender to do that, first of all, I've just got to say it's a big achievement to do that because football is always weighted towards attackers. We've seen that with Ballon d'Or. We've seen it with Player of the Year. To win it as a defender, you've really got to go above and beyond. And he has had a fantastic season and it's a debut season for Man City. Defensively, they've been fantastic. And look, I haven't watched City loads. I find them a little bit dull, to be honest, because they're so good and they're not my team. But whenever I watch them, the clean sheets and Diaz has been fantastic. But Bruno, as a United fan, has been robbed, but not robbed by the voters. He's been robbed by Ollie. I'm afraid, because I look at Bruno Fernandes at Christmas. I'm not a bettor, but I would have bet good money that Bruno was going to win Player of the Year because up until Christmas, and Bruno's a little bit unfortunate because he straddled two seasons. Like the end of last season, from January to the end of the season, he was brilliant, and the start of this season to Christmas, he was brilliant. And as a calendar year, Bruno would be Player of the Year. But it's like those idiots who say, if you did the points accumulation over a calendar year, Arsenal would be 7th and not 8th. But, some people say they'd be top, but I can't use that with Arsenal. But it's not a calendar year. Football's never been a calendar year. It's September to May. It always has been. And the reality is, as a United fan, I noticed, even though Bruno's my favourite player, although he kept scoring goals and getting assists, he wasn't the player he was from September to Christmas, from January to May. He just wasn't the same player. Just like Rashford, just like Harry Maguire, just like Paul Pogba, they burnt out because Ollie doesn't rotate his players. And look, I'm not even being anti-Ollie here. He doesn't rotate his players. The same thing happened to United at the end of last season. We burnt out by the time the Europa League semi-finals against Sevilla came because he never rotated his team. We came back from lockdown. He broke some record for picking the same 11, some like 7-8 games in a row. That was last season. This season, he's done it again. He's burnt his players out. Bruno played too much football. You look at Ruben Dias, every now and again he didn't play because they've got Laporte on the bench. So they've got Nathan Ake at the end of the season. Pep has two teams and he rotates them. Ollie doesn't have two teams, but he did have the opportunity to rotate more. And I think Bruno Fernandes suffered from exhaustion. It's very hard to keep the high levels going when you're playing 3 games a week for months. And I think that's what happened with Bruno. He burnt out. So Diaz did deserve it over him because Ollie overplayed Bruno. Simple as that. And it's over a season. As for Harry Kane, I think Harry Kane probably a little bit unlucky, but I'd still give it Diaz because you know what? You're comparing a Spurs player and a City player. And it's like going to shopping with one of them bags for life. And City come back on a barbecue day with burgers and beef and vegetarian burgers, diversity of food. Burger baps, crisps, nachos. Harry Kane and Spurs come back with their bag for life from the shops and it's empty. Spurs don't win anything. Man City did win something. And people say, well, that's not Harry Kane's fault. But Spurs lost a lot of games this season. And Harry Kane has had a great season for Spurs. But I've also watched him play and not play that well. And, are we talking about goals and assists or are we talking about season performance? And I've got to be honest, I've seen Harry Kane have bad games and I've not really seen Ruben Dias have had bad games. So I do think that Diaz deserved it. And I hate saying it as a United fan. And I know that Harry Kane's one of the best strikers in the world. But I think Diaz did deserve it. I don't know what anyone else thinks. Get your comments in. As for Player of the Year, let's have a look at... Team of the Year. So the Team of the Year, Ederson in goal. I actually think Martinez. Luke Shaw, Ruben Dias, John Stones, Cancelo. You can't massively... I think Luke Shaw's done well to get in there. I do think Luke Shaw's done well to get in there. But Diaz, Stones, Cancelo. You could argue the right back as well. Midfield 3 of Bruno, Gundogan and De Bruyne. Wouldn't disagree with that. And I think my team was that. I can't remember. My team was only a month ago. And then a front 3 of Son, Kane and Salah. Which, again, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't necessarily disagree with that team, apart from the only one. And look, I know it differs from my team slightly that I did a few weeks ago, but looking at that's voted for by everybody, I think that the only change I would make is Ederson for Martinez at Villa, because I think just because Ederson, I think that's a lazy thing, and I think it's happened in the past. We'll put the goalkeeper in who won the league, but he won the league with not much to do. I don't remember Ederson making worldy saves because the defence ahead. How can you have Ederson as the goalkeeper for Team of the Year, but then put 3 Man City players in the back four? I mean, it sort of contradicts itself. You know, has he had a great goalkeeping season? And you know, I remember when David De Gea won Player of the year after year for United. There was no bloody defenders in there because David De Gea was busy. Ederson's not been busy. I mean, he's been awarded for doing his online shopping during the 90 minutes. So I wouldn't put Ederson there. But apart from that, I agree with Shaw, Diaz, Stones, Cancelo, Bruno, Gundogan, De Bruyne, Son, Kane and Salah. And look, Salah didn't have a great season, but he still did relatively well in relation to the amount of goals he got for a wide player. So look, Ruben Diaz, Player of the Year. Get your reactions in below. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe. I think he deserves it. I'm disappointed that Bruno didn't get it. But I don't blame people who voted for Diaz. I actually think if there's any fault here, it's the fact that he burnt out from January to the end of the season, just like all United players seem to do, because Ollie doesn't rotate. We've got a manager who is too scared to rotate because he relies on a certain 13, 14 players. And I think that's cost Bruno Player of the Year because any United fan will tell you he still contributed from January to the end of the season, but he was never really the same player as consistently he was at the start. And I think that comes down to fatigue. And it's interesting to see if this little break between now and the Euros, whether we see the real Bruno or whether we see the tired Bruno. We'll have to wait and see. But Rashford's in the same situation, overplayed. You know, Harry Maguire's ended up injured. Is that because he was overplayed or is it just bad luck? You know, United seem to want to give people awards like Harry Maguire because he's played every game of the season. I think that's a milk monitor award. It's like the person who turns up to class early with an apple for the teacher. That's not ability. That's just, I played every game. You know, I'd rather Harry Maguire didn't play every game and actually was super sharp match fit for every game. I'd rather Bruno didn't play every game and was super sharp every game. Wan-Bissaka's another one who's been overplayed. So I think Bruno's missed out because he was overplayed. And I think Harry Kane's missed out because he plays for Spurs, which is probably why Harry Kane wants to move. Because Ruben Diaz is the Player of the Year. Thanks for watching. Speak to you all in a bit.